Welcome to Hand Steel Boxing.
Welcome back to Hand Steel Boxing, where you hopefully get your boxing news for Australia and around the world. I'm Matt here in the venue again with Michael King. How are you today, Michael?
Great, thanks. Good to be back.
It's good to catch you before you go back overseas because I always like your takes and sometimes controversial takes from time to time on boxing. Today, the topic is TJ Doheny versus Naoya Inoue and that implication that it has for Sam Goodman and that undisputed fight that he's looking at right now. So just recently, we've had TJ Doheny, which we're going to be just calling him TJ from now on, fighting out of, I believe, not mistaken, Bondi Boxing.
Yeah, last time I checked, he was fighting out of Bondi Boxing Club, I believe, yes.
Yep. He's Irish guy.
Yep.
That's fighting out of Sydney now.
Yes.
Like very, very common by looks of things. A lot of guys coming back over here, you know.
Yeah, you've got Super Darren Foley as well.
Yep.
Another fighter who's sort of followed that path as
Yep.
well. Yep.
Connor Williams over
Connor
here.
Williams as well. Yep.
We've got Billy Polkinghorn, which we mentioned a few times in the last podcast.
Yep.
He's from Essex though, England. So let's not put them in the same category. I might cause some beef. I'd love to call. Imagine if we cause some beef here on this podcast. Just one person like mentions it.
I mean, we could be matchmaking.
Yeah,
right now
potentially. I think we could be. I'm happy with that. So we're going to do a bit more of a, I guess, in a sense, an analytical breakdown here. So super bantamweight, 122-pound limit.
Yep.
We had the fight with Inoue and TJ. My initial thoughts on it, okay, I actually had a bit of an inside scoop here, which I didn't mention, but I was talking to his coaching staff prior, perhaps 6-7 weeks ago, and they said, listen, very interested, Sam Goodman's going to potentially, take this guy on. However, in the interim, we've got the fight. Okay, so I think the way he's gotten the fight is because perhaps Sam didn't, take it in this spot or whatever it is. I don't know the technicalities behind it.
Yep.
But then he's actually, TJ's actually had about 4 fights over in 3 or 4 fights in Japan.
Yeah.
So he's become a bit of a name over there, right?
Yeah, he was undefeated in Japan, yeah.
Exactly. And he said, I was fighting out of my skin in Japan. Something about Japan really makes me the best I can be.
Yep.
So he's gone over there and they're like, yeah, cool, makes sense. Apparently he's been pulled over in the streets. You know how the Japanese can be. They're really into their stars.
Pretty big fan base out here, yeah. Yeah, which is cool.
That'd be so cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they've jumped over and then he's taken the fight. Now, my initial thoughts here is potentially, I had the inside scoop, right? And they were like, listen, basically what it is, that he wasn't going in there trying to knock him out because he has the power. He has 20 knockouts, right, TJ?
Yeah.
However, what he wanted to do was go and box.
Yeah.
And he was a previous champion as well.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so he's had the skill. He's got the skill set.
Yep.
And there's something about some of these like Irish sort of fighters, Northern England fighters, Irish fighters that are very awkward. I'm talking Billy Joe Saunders, Tyson Fury, and TJ himself.
Very true.
Right?
Yeah.
So he's come in, he wanted to box him, because he's got the power. He can really put you away very quick.
Yep.
But has he been tested boxing? So that was the methodology. And a couple of guys that I know were like, I'm going to put it second round KO. And I'm thinking to myself, this is like I got the inside scoop. I'm like, well, these are tough guys, these Irish.
Yep, for sure.
They love a scrap.
Crafty. Yep.
Connor Williams made that very apparent to me. Mm-hmm. And essentially what it was if they're going to be boxing and being a bit weird and he's a bigger man.
A bit awkward, correct. Yes. Yeah.
Well, they're going to have some success here.
That's right. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it takes a while to work him out. And that was evident as well in the fight. Yep.
Exactly.
Sure. Yep.
Coming in awkward. Mm-hmm. And on the other hand, like, it's kind of almost predictable in the sense that Inoue was like, okay, now this man's a bit of an older fighter. All right, like he's not an old man by any means, but he's 37.
Yep.
Right, he's been around. He's had quite a few fights, and essentially, it's a pretty sort of systematic breakdown. We're going to take him to the body, which he took him to the body about 1 million times.
He did, yeah.
And wear him down, and then take
him out of there.
Take him out of there.
Yep.
Anyway, what were your initial takes like beforehand and during the fight? I'd love to know your ideas.
Beforehand, so firstly, TJ definitely surprised me. I didn't think it'd be as competitive as it was. I thought TJ had a good game plan, moved well, was boxing off the back foot nicely, defensively very responsible. Was giving, in a way, a lot of different looks. level changing well. Yeah, just making it real awkward and hard. Also being a southpaw as well. And I felt like that worked for the most part. And he had his moments with his shots too. He was still getting some nice shots off. He was selecting his shots really well, being cautious, but obviously that's going to be part of the game plan when you fight someone like Inoue. But yeah, he definitely was competitive and did a lot better than what I thought he was going to do. I do think a part of it was Inoue coming off of that knockdown, even though he got up and got the win against Nuri, I believe. I think he was a bit cautious because of that. So he started a little bit slower. Almost looked like maybe he was trying some new things here and there. But even with that said, I think TJ did really well. He was catching Inoue in the static high guard a few times, getting some nice shots off, going to the body a bit, moving well, working the jab. I think overall did a lot better than what people were expecting. So, yeah.
Yeah, he definitely did. And that goes to show, like, when there's someone like Inoue, undisputed, multiple world champion over quite a few divisions now, he's going up, right? And he's like just the monster. He's the name. He's the guy, right?
Yep.
And I feel like for a majority of it is that it's very easy to be like, oh, Inoue's going to smoke anyone. Inoue. Everyone else is trash.
That's right.
Now, I think that's the lazy way to look at it.
Agreed.
Right?
Yeah.
Just because someone doesn't have a bigger name or isn't, globally recognized, doesn't mean they're not a good fighter.
100% agree. Yeah.
So where I kind of want to go with this now, all right, well, let's just take it back for 2 seconds, that the way that fight ended was, I think Inoue started pushing the pace once he got a bit of momentum.
Downloaded a bit of information.
Felt info.
Felt more comfortable. Yeah, totally agree.
Pushing the pace.
Yeah,
and TJ, he's got the power to hurt.
That's another thing. TJ's a bigger man too, then in a way.
You can actually see it.
Physically,
Bigger back.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely much bigger guy. So I think that might have been part of Inoue's slower start as well. And also just TJ, like I said, was giving him different looks, man, really mixing it up. Inoue couldn't get on the line and just let his hands go as much as he probably would have liked to have. TJ's step back game was good, and he was just making a lot more problems for Inoue.
Especially those early rounds, he was really dictating the pace of the fight, I think.
Yeah, he was in control. I won't say in control, but the fight was competitive, and he really made Inoue work early. I think almost like confused him a bit in the earlier goings. But like you mentioned, once Inoue's seen enough, got the looks he wanted, he started to pick up the pace and then started to run away with it.
And from the get-go, you knew the body was going to be in the game plan. Taking the body. Once he gets up, gets him against the rope in the corners. 1, 2, 3, body.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
And that's the way it ended in the end. So sadly, it was a retirement in round 7, I think it was.
Yeah, which was a bit disappointing because the fight was starting to cook.
Exactly. Like, I think Inoue is probably in control over most of the fight. However, the way it was going may have been a knockout. Not sure.
Yeah, TJ was starting to open up a little bit more, starting to land some more shots, but also copping a few more shots.
Maybe gassing a little bit.
Yeah. I think the age maybe as well, and just the pressure from Inoue. Like, it's very intelligent pressure as well. It doesn't look like he's doing much, but he's constantly forcing TJ backwards, and so that does take its toll over time as well.
And especially like you were saying with that knockdown, they're like, "Oh, let's have a look back at the tape and see what we can correct here in this spot." And definitely, these guys are very professional.
Yeah,
like that's the Japanese as well. They take their craft, and that's like a cultural thing. I think
100%.
They take their craft, and it's like, how can I be the best I can? Honor and these old sort of like traditions that a lot of Western countries don't have.
Totally agree.
So it's very, very interesting, and they're very respectful.
Yeah, that's a good point actually. I like they're quite a conservative nation in that way. So I feel like that probably played into it as well. After coming off of that knockdown, going into this fight with TJ, they might have maybe respected TJ a little bit more than what they had to have. Like, Inoue probably could have got it going a bit earlier. Maybe. I could be wrong. But I think that was part of it. They just wanted to make sure they had the right looks first and then step it up as they did.
And when you look at someone's record, like that's kind of the first place that you look at someone and we're going to create a game plan. You look at this guy's record, he's got 20 KOs.
Yep.
I mean, that suggests he has power.
That's right.
They can stop someone.
Yeah, he can definitely sting you. Yeah,
and the last thing to go in your boxing game is your power.
100%. Yep.
And they'll probably be cautious from that last fight.
Yeah, for sure.
And they're like, okay, how do we play this right?
Yep.
All right. So moving on, I've got a few opinions.
Yep.
Okay. So we have showdown now with Australia's own Sam Goodman.
Yep.
Okay, versus Inoue. Now, this has been something in the pipeline for a little bit now. Like, potentially, this could have been the fight where Sam Goodman will be fighting Inoue.
Yep.
For whatever reason, that's broken down.
Okay.
Or whatever side, I don't know the details. But then now it's gone down to potentially at the end of the year is going to be the showdown. Okay?
Yeah.
Opinions. It's, like I said, it's very easy for people to be like, hey, Sam Goodman's going to get smoked.
Yeah, for sure.
That's the lazy way to look at it, I think.
Yeah, 100% agree. And I think Sam Goodman brings a lot more to the table than what people might think for this fight. One, he's going to be bigger. Two, he's hungry. And I've watched interviews, and you watch some interviews and fighters say, yeah, I'm ready for this fight and stuff. But you can tell they're kind of like they're just saying it because they got to say it. He seems very genuine. Like he really believes that he can get in there and cause an upset. And I think he's got the skill set to do it as well. So I wouldn't write him off at all. Definitely.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
He trains up at with Joel Keegan, who's quite a vaunted amateur trainer.
Yep.
All right,
Okay.
but he also does a lot of pros. Obviously, Sam Goodman, Cole Mazudia, in his last fight, he's just transitioned to him.
Okay.
All right, and it's very much reminiscent, like a modified amateur style, in which like there's a lot of front foot movement. One thing which I've noticed as well, and Sam Goodman does speak to this, is that, and you saw it with Mazudia fought Nikita Zoo, they have this constant pressure. Like you're at this mid-range, like we're talking like that Margarito pressure. You're always kind of there. Actually, that's probably actually a bad example. It's a Lomachenko style pressure.
Yes, yeah.
And this is coming from that amateur sort of skill set there,
Yeah.
where you're always right there.
That's it.
You're always in
you're on the
striking
cusp
distance.
of that. Yeah, exactly. I'm sorry. On the cusp of that mid-range to long range, in and out there, and constantly giving that pressure. Even the illusion of pressure sometimes.
Yep, that's what it is.
Yeah, you might not always be on the front foot coming forward looking, but this is an illusion of pressure that can overwhelm fighters over rounds. So
Yep.
yeah, definitely. Yep.
And that's very interesting, and I like that very much.
Yep.
However, I feel like I don't know, like Joel Keegan, please comment below, and/or Sam Goodman, and/or Cole Mazudia. Let us know. But the pressure is one thing, but then it's the power side of it.
Yep.
Now, obviously, these guys can sting. They're professional fighters. You saw Mazudia almost cook Zoo. You've seen Sam Goodman does have a few stoppages. He's not like this one-punch whacker.
Yep.
All right, but he has enough to sting you.
Agreed. Yeah.
But I think it might be a stylistic thing in which this is the way that their coach wants them to fight.
Yep.
Where you're delivering the punches, all right, but you're not overbalancing yourself. You're not exposing yourself
Yeah.
to these counters.
Yep.
When you fight Inoue, you have to be aware that he has the power. All right, you have to be very
Yep.
conscious of that throughout all 12 rounds.
100%.
Because you can end it.
Yeah, you want to keep your base as well. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
So they're not overcommitting with the power.
Yep.
This is where, again, those 5 kind of criteria that I've spoken about previously, is that you have to have one thing here. Now, Sam Goodman is a holistic, all-round good fighter.
Agreed,
Okay. Which is a skill on its own.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah.
But to go to this level, you need to have an X factor. Now, I think he is a better boxer than Inoue,
Interesting. Yeah.
in the sense that, Inoue is athletic, okay, and he has the power. I mean, he has very, very nice mechanics in the
Yeah.
in the fight,
Yep,
in
for
the
sure.
throwing a
Punch
punch
selection's good. Yeah.
punch selection.
Yep.
And also, I don't know if you knew this, but they use the canvas on top of the canvas in Japan. It's actually different. It's like a bit more friction to it,
Okay.
where it can get more like you're not slipping
he
a little
can
bit.
Set his feet a bit more.
Yeah, and a little bit
generate more
bouncier, I
power.
think. So you go bang. So maybe a reason like he's staying around in
Interesting.
Japan fighting a lot.
Okay.
Anyway,
Yeah.
that's just something I've heard recently. Anyway, you need to have enough power. I feel like that style is something that we haven't had enough looks at against Inoue, and we've had TJ who lost to Sam Goodman.
He did. Yeah. Yeah. And Goodman dropped him. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
And kind of made him like look kind of average, to be honest. Yeah. Yeah. So that's an interesting point. Yeah.
Some food for thought.
Yeah, for sure.
That style, and we kind of saw it with TJ. He
Yep.
was awkward. He was there. I don't think Sam is awkward, but he's got great cardio.
Fundamentals are very
His
good.
fundamentals are very, very
Yeah,
good.
Cardio, gas tank's good. Yep.
I feel like this is a situation where Inoue goes, cool, I'm having a lot of trouble hitting this guy,
Yep.
and that pressure when I'm backing up is an issue, but he might want someone, he's not rushing in. He's always there. It's like super annoying.
Yeah, for sure.
As in if you're an opponent. But what it was, it's that we haven't had that look enough, but he needs to get Inoue's respect.
Yes.
So he's not just going to come in.
Yep, that's right.
And we see that problem again over and over again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally
What are your
agree.
thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think, like I said, I think it's a far more interesting fight than what people might give it credit for on the surface. I think Goodman definitely has the skills, and like I mentioned before, he's a bigger man. And like you said, he's not necessarily known to crack or have one punch knockout power as such, but I think he's got enough to keep Inoue honest, which is enough. And then on the back of good boxing and a good game plan,
Being a bigger man.
Yeah, I think all that together could be enough for him to potentially cause an upset. So yeah, I think Inoue likes to come forward in the high guard a lot. Sometimes it's a little bit static, and I think off of that he could definitely get some shots off and move away, reset. Almost, I'm not going to say exactly, but kind of similar game plan, if I could think of one, to the approach Liam Pyro had versus Matthias. Similar in that sense. They both, Matthias and Inoue, have similar ways of approaching the line. They'll get up in the high guard and they'll come forward and they'll try and counter off of that. I could see potentially Sam Goodman doing some similar things to Pyro, where he could lean on him, push him back, reset him. Yeah, things like that could work. So yeah, I definitely think Goodman has much bigger chance than what people have already given him initially, for sure.
Definitely, and a lot of people when they are fighting Inoue is that they're trying to back up on a straight line as well.
Yes, yeah.
The thing with Sam is that he has really nice exits left and right,
Angles
really
as well.
Angles coming in, and it's quite dynamic. Though it's not cracking, he's still scoring. The biggest key here is that initial struggle for control of the pace of the fight. That can be dictated by power.
Yeah.
So it's an opponent to Inoue is okay, I don't want to open up too much here because he's going to crack me with that power. And that's that equalizer from that they do. However, the problem, and I can see, potentially Sam running into problems here, that if he gets out volumed by Inoue, Inoue's just there, he goes, I'm not going to knock him out, I'm not going to catch him, but I'm keeping him at bay with my power.
Yep, that's right.
And he's he doesn't want to throw as much because it's,
Yep, it's definitely a thing. It's a psychological thing. And if that could happen, I could see Inoue trying to force Sam Goodman onto the ropes and into the corners, and then that's where it's going to be hard for Sam, because he's got two options. He has to just defend himself and then try and look for an exit and reset, or he has to throw back at some point, which isn't great versus Inoue.
Inoue's great at the counter and punching in that half beat, punching in between.
Exactly right. And if they're going to go for a 50-50, punch for punch, you're going to probably favour Inoue. So I don't think that'd be a route to victory for Goodman. But like I said, I do think he's definitely got the gas tank and the skills to stick, move. Also, like I said, he's the bigger man, so he can get shots off and smother him. You know what I mean? He can clinch, all these sort of things. So.
And that's one thing which, quick side note as well. I rewatched the Mizudia fight.
Yeah.
With but on the on TV and the broadcast
with Nikita.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just one quick side note: there was no clinching in that fight.
Exactly, and that's something I wanted to bring up last time, but I forgot to mention it.
Bring it up now.
Yeah, Nikita, like I said, Nikita did really well. He showcased a lot of great skills, and the development's there, but there was no clinching. Even in moments where, and I get it, some fighters don't like it because clinching, it's kind of look, it's a good strategy. You can use it when you need it, but some fighters don't like to use it, right?
It's let's not do a Floyd Mayweather level of clinching.
Exactly right. Yeah, exactly right.
But if you're buzzed, you grab him.
Yeah, and there were moments, like I said, where Mizudia was starting to cook Nikita a bit, or it looked like he was trending that way, and Nikita could have clinched, but he didn't. And I was kind of surprised. It was he needed to do this, you need to clinch now, but didn't.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But yeah, clinching for sure.
I'd like to see Mizudia clinching a bit more.
Mizudia as well?
Yeah, because he was okay, took a couple of shots. All right, let's just stop that combination right now.
Yep.
I took probably two left hooks, but I ended up taking 4, but the clinch would have stopped that.
You think both fighters should have clinched?
Yeah, I think Mizudia should have clinched a bit more in spots.
Definitely.
Yeah. Anyway, we get distracted. But yes, I'm glad we brought that up. So super bantamweight's pretty interesting. Hopefully that fight gets done because, as Sam Goodman likes to say, it's for all the marbles. He did injure his hand against the Rockman, his last fight.
Yep.
Broke a hand, I think.
Yep.
6 to 8 weeks. I don't think that's going to limit him in any means. Like, he stayed fit. He's dialed in. This is big shot. So I'm not going to put too much weight into that.
Yep.
But it's a lot more competitive. It's very much like the Mizudia Zoo. It's more competitive than it looks like on paper.
Yeah, for sure. No, I totally agree. Yeah. Much more competitive than what it looks like. And like you said, people tend to just, Inoue is the monster. He's going to steal over everybody. Yeah, I totally agree. I just think Sam brings more to the table than what people think. So I'm looking forward to it if it actually eventuates. I think it'd be a good fight.
Absolutely. And potentially Sam Goodman will be coming onto the show in the coming weeks or months.
Oh, cool.
Yep. So he has just obviously been training, recovering, doing everything he needs to do. And then he's like, oh, yeah, man, I am keen. So this is a call out to you, Sam. I want to get you on here.
Get in here.
And I want you to address the points that we've put on here.
Yep.
And I want to know your exact game plan.
Yeah.
And because you know what? Sam Goodman's on Inoue's radar.
100%.
Like he got a call out last fight. He called him out, and then Sam Goodman said he was eventually making his way slowly to the front of the ring.
Yep.
To the ringside, and then they're like, "Oh, there he is!" Yells out something. He's a gong boy.
Yeah.
We're gong boys by origin.
Yep.
Anyway, and then he's like, "Oh, come in," and they're like, "Let's make it happen." So they know each other. They're known quantity to each other.
Right.
And obviously, Inoue's the guy in the division.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
So very interesting fight.
Yeah.
All right, someone's got a gun to your head, bang. They haven't shot yet, but they're like, hey, who do you got winning? Black or white? Obviously, it's not.
Yeah, gun to my head, I still think Inoue probably overwhelms him. Short answer, gun to my head, I take Inoue. But you want to break it down like we have, I wouldn't be surprised either if Goodman could do enough. Like I said, he's got enough pop to get Inoue's respect, and he's a good enough boxer to win rounds. So, yeah.
As long as the volume's there.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
Absolutely. Hey, they say mismatch. We say matchup. Interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your opinions on this one, Michael.
No worries.
Always good to have this information out to the public. Sam Goodman, can't wait to have you on board. Michael, thank you again.
Thank you.
Until next week.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening.